Welcome to another edition of Punch TV. It's February, so we're talking about passion. And we've got some guests today who have their own passions. We've got a couple, Chris and Jamie Fisher, who love to do cosplay, dress up, and they're very, very creative and artistic. They're gonna share their story about how they both got into cosplay. And we also have guest artist Audra Ballion, and she's got some comics and some great stuff. She's been going to cons now for a little while, and she's got some really neat things to share with us. Of course, we'll have Tweet Beat, and we've got the Collector, and we've got the Movie Geek, and we're also going to share our passions with you, things that you might not know about us that we are all passionate about. So stay tuned. There's lots in store today. All right, very excited to have guest artist Audra Ballion on. She does a lot of different stuff, comics and neat little guys, so we're going to hear a lot about that. And we're talking about passion. So obviously art's your passion. How did you get started?
Well, my mom says I've been drawing since I could pick up a crayon. And it's just what I've always loved to do, just sitting in my room making stuff and all that kind of jazz. And then I went ahead and did my BFA in studio art at the university.
Okay. So you've got a lot of inspiration there. And did you find that like comics were a form that was embraced there, or was that kind of like maybe on the edge of things?
In the earlier years at university, it was kind of, they weren't so fond of comics, but sort of in the later years, I found that it was becoming more popular. There was a couple other people who were interested in it as well. And the professor started accepting it as like a form of artistic storytelling. So that was cool that it sort of changed a little bit in my time there.
Nice to see that evolution for sure, because it is a true artwork, art form, and it's beautiful. And you've been at this a little while. So you've been working on this series here. You've already got 3 comic books out, or prequels out to the big epic that you're working on. Tell us a little bit about this world.
So the Flight 19 world is sort of a steampunk, diesel punk sort of world. There's a lot of mutants. Pretty much everyone's a mutant. There's no specific races. They're all just variations. You see some of them are more bug-like, some of them are like octopus or whatever. And then this lady on the front cover here, in the first series, she's sort of like the main villain. She's trying to improve people through use of mechanical augments. So she's pretty much all augmented herself now, but the struggle is, you know, how far can you go and at what cost to other people?
Right. Okay, cool. And how do people get their hands on this stuff?
Right now I've got an online shop, or you can just message through my Facebook, and I do a lot of conventions as well, so you'll see me around at pretty much any of the comic conventions here, and I do like Calgary and Regina and that kind of thing. Cool.
Now you won an award for this little critter right here. Tell us about these little guys, because they're super adorable.
Yeah, they're meant to be adorable because they represent scary things. The hooligans is what I call these little monsters. They basically represent stuff like mental illnesses and other disorders or struggles that people go through. It's like this little one is anxiety. This sad little guy is depression. So he's got little wings he could go, but he just can't get up. This bigger one that won the award for Best of Show Sculpture, it's body dysmorphia disorder. So with this one, say he can only see the sort of quote-unquote grosser side of him, whereas, you know, everyone else can see all of the
how shiny and beautiful he is.
Yeah, he's great, right?
That is awesome.
So it's looking to make them less scary, more culpable, and bring attention to mental illnesses so that it's more normalized.
Right. Well, it sounds like you're very passionate about this, and obviously passionate about your comic. What is the name of your Facebook page where people can find your stuff?
Audra Ballion Art. That's it.
We'll show that on the screen so people know where to reach you. Well, cool. Thank you for bringing in your stuff. It's amazing, and I can't wait to see the full-on epic when it comes out.
For sure.
All right, thanks, Audra.
Thank you, Jody.
Punch TV is brought to you in part by Amazing Stories, providing Saskatoon with comics, games, toys, graphic novels, t-shirts, and more for over 22 years. Online at AmazingStoriesComics.com, in person on 8th Street in Saskatoon.
Hello, lovely ladies and or dudes. My name is Hank, and today on Tweet Beat, I've got an extra special treat for you. Sitting beside me right now. He will make you laugh. He'll make you cry. He's a really sexy guy. It's Tony.
Hi.
Hey, Tony.
Yeah.
When I say things like long walks along the beach, horseback riding, hot air balloon rides, what comes into your mind?
Breakfast.
That's right, romance. And when I say romance, I think of Valentine's Day, the day of L-O-V-E, love. That's why today on TweetBeat, Tony and I, we're going to recommend a few things that you are gonna love. So without further ado, I give to you, Tony, take it away. Let's do some tweets.
If you love reading, go buy the first 2 books in the limited series, Pound After Death by Pound Scott Snyder and Pound Jeff Lemire. A cure for death is found and everybody lives happily ever after. Wait, that can't be right.
That can't be right.
Book 3 is out February 22nd, and Sony is developing a film based on these bad boys.
Interesting fact you guys probably didn't know. Now, Valentine's Day is all about love, so if you love music, you love music, right? You should buy the new album by Dropkick Murphys, 11 short stories of pain and glory. The Murphys tell their stories with maturity and respect, and we love singing along with every song, don't we?
We do.
Yeah, what's your favorite song on the album?
I would have to say Glade.
That's right, that's song number 12. 86 out of 100, one of their best, and if you love movies, especially musicals like we do, check out La La Land, where a latte-serving starving actress falls for a struggling jazz musician. When you mix success into the story, things get complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah, 98 out of 100. It's conflict, it's compromise, and it's very, very exciting, right?
Jazz.
Yeah, jazz.
Jazz is-
Gotta love it.
Yeah.
Let's see your jazz hands. You got some jazz hands? Yeah, that's good. So that's really about it. That's it for us. So for all things that you want to read, maybe you want to watch, maybe you want to listen to, check out at Shaw, Punch TV, and at Hank and Kelso. My name is Hank.
Kelso. Tony.
Tony. This is Tony. See you next time. Tweet Beat.
Repeat.
All right, thank you to Hank and to Tony for those picks. And now we are joined by 2 superstar, stellar cosplayers, couple extraordinary. We've got Jamie and Chris Fisher. Both are making a whole ton of costumes and stuff. And our theme today is, of course, passion. So obviously you must be passionate about what you do. How did you get into cosplay?
Basically, I was bit by the bug by my friends back in 2008. We went to Odafest and they all dressed up as Silent Hill. So we had a couple of nurses and a pyramid head and a couple other people. I wasn't dressed up at the time, but I saw everybody else who was dressed up. There was probably 10,000 Narutos. And so after that year, I decided that I was going to go and start making costumes. I didn't actually make my first costume until about 2 years later, and that was Madison from Cardcaptor Sakura. And needless to say, after that, it just became my hobby. And from that, I was like, I could probably go and do this semi-professionally.
Cool.
And it just sprung from there.
So you have a business. That's So Geeky. Now, did you know how to sew before you got bitten by the bug, or did that come later?
I had the basics. I took home ec when I was in grade 8 and in high school. So just, how to use a sewing machine, how to do basic hand stitches. But by being a cosplayer, you have to really branch out. So I would say that I'm probably not an advanced sewer, but definitely intermediate.
Okay. So were you into cosplay and making costumes and stuff before you met Chris, or did it all kind of happen together?
Yeah, like Chris and I have been together for about 5 years now, and I was big into cosplay before we met, and when we started dating, he said that he wanted to do Ghostbusters costume with all of his friends, and I was like, well, I can do that with you. It hasn't happened yet.
It's on the back burner, right? It's on the list. Okay, so you meet this great girl, and she's into all this crazy stuff. Did you have any interest in cosplay or design before that?
I did. I've been doing costumes and things since I was a kid, and in high school I used to do a lot of short films, so I'd make a lot of costumes, and I was doing costumes. I didn't really know cosplay was a thing to go to conventions, and I was already kind of doing them as side projects, but looking back, I don't know what I would have done with them. I was actually doing a Spider-Man suit of the Raimi movies, and when I had met her and she was telling me about sewing, I was like, oh, great, somebody can sew up my suit. And I asked her, I said, hey, can you sew up my suit? And she's like, yeah, I don't like spiders. She was like, well, she was making a joke because she was very DC at the time, and she wasn't like, she didn't really like the character overly, so she was just like,
I was never a huge fan of Spider-Man, but there was also the aspect that it's spandex, and
That's scary. It's hard to sew.
it is. And if you like, even just repairing the suits now, like I have sewn a few spandex suits, but
she eventually did do the Spider-Man.
I did,
Aw, that's awesome.
but without a serger, and
Boo.
so it did work. We used that suit for quite a few years, but you know, it's much easier with a serger, and we've probably got about 8 Spider-Man suits now.
Yeah, we got a few, and we've got a Batman one, like a Dawn of Justice one, and we're always kind of branching out into doing more because I am also the graphic end of it too. I can actually do the graphic of the suit and then have it printed and then bring it back, and then she sews it up. So it's instead of you can actually, in the States, there are certain companies where you get the graphic, the suit, and everything's sewn up, but sometimes it can mark up quite a bit. So if we can do it ourselves, we can cut that down quite a bit.
Bring the price down. Now, you've made some pretty incredible costumes. You've got an Iron Man that is stupendously great. How do you make armor and stuff?
How do I make armor? Actually, it depends on what the project is. If it's simple enough, you can kind of look at the pattern and then make the patterns yourself and then cut them out in foam and then glue them together. But sometimes if it's a little bit more involved, you can use programs like Pepakura, which is online. A lot of cosplayers know this program, and you input a 3D image into this program and it kind of unfolds it and it makes it these sheets, and then they can come out. People have gotten into more better or different kind of materials now. What is it called?
Warbler, and
Heard of that, yeah.
There's another type of material. I can't remember the name right now, though.
That's okay. Well, there's all this great resource out there, and from all the cosplayers I talk to, the more you network and the more you talk to each other and build the community, the more you find out about different materials and resources that are out there. So I know that you are going to be executing a pretty exciting workshop at Amazing Stories in March. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Well, I know quite a few people, any time that I tell them, oh, well, I'm into cosplay, they're like, what is cosplay? Especially when you try talking about steampunk. So I want to teach people how to do cosplay from the ground up. And I wouldn't say I'm the foremost expert on it, but I can certainly help you get there.
Okay, so it'll be like a 4-week thing where you will help people not only plan and explain the resources, but there'll actually be some work time there too?
Yes, so starting on the 1st of March, we will be doing an introduction of what happens with cosplay, who does cosplay, how to budget for that cosplay, and how to plan it. And the second week goes into actual project planning of creating a dream board, finding samples of fabrics, and deciding what you need to make as opposed to purchase. And I'll also teach them how to use handy apps like the CosPlanner app.
Okay.
And then after that, if they have a project ongoing, they can work on it with us there. I'm also going to be asking my husband Chris to help us out with foam because he has his foam experience.
Okay.
I also know a few other people that have experience with woodworking foam, like spray foam, and Warbler.
Awesome. Okay, well, that's very exciting. So if you're interested, sign up. Hopefully there's still spots available because that'll happen all through March. And even if you're totally brand new to it, you can get an introduction and get excited about this very exciting hobby. Well, thank you for joining us today. I wish we had more time to talk about it. We'll have to have you come back in like a few of your outfits.
Yeah, that would be fun, definitely. We have a few. We definitely have a wide range. We still got to do like a massive photo shoot. That would be good.
Yes. That would be awesome. Yeah, it's a little chilly at the moment for a Spidey spandex thing. So.
Yes, it is.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us. We'll be back right after these messages.
Punch TV is brought to you in part by Amazing Stories, providing Saskatoon with comics, games, toys, graphic novels, t-shirts, and more for over 22 years. Online at AmazingStoriesComics.com, in person on 8th Street in Saskatoon.
Welcome back. I'm here with the Movie Geek, and we are talking about Le Passion in movies. So lay it on us. What are some good passionate movies?
Okay, so this was like the hardest assignment you've ever given me because it would have been easy to go get just a bunch of romantic comedies and stuff, but lots of times I don't really like some of those movies, and some of them are too obscure. And then some of the like real passionate ones are like too spicy for TV, your Marlon Brando situations. But so I thought, like, what does passion mean? And I chose a list of movies that you'd probably never look at and see a through line, but passion is everything from love to creativity and everything. So this list will reflect that. Okay. So the first one is a movie I know you really love. It's called Jiro Dreams of Sushi.
I do love that movie.
So it's a documentary, as you know, about a guy named Jiro who's an 85-year-old sushi chef that has a little sushi restaurant, I guess, in the subway in Tokyo. And it's the only one that's got like 3 Michelin stars, and people book like a year in advance to travel there just to eat at this humble little thing. And the whole movie is about like his passion for practice and for like making this art of sushi, which is a very aesthetic like art. So just a great movie about just like doing what you love and finding the passion in that. And it's even a little bit about passing it on to the next generation.
Right, and his sons and their drive for perfection in the form.
Yeah. So the next one is one we actually talked about a couple episodes ago at Christmas time. It's a Wonderful Life. Now, this movie's almost like the anti-passion, or like, because George Bailey like has a passion for, he wants to leave the small town and go to the big city and build big buildings, and like he's got this whole vision for this life in front of him, but of course like circumstances keep him in the small town and keeps pulling him back in, and so he has these stifled passions by the long horrible smoldering thing that is life. But of course, as we know by the end of that movie, all the things he does are imbued with passion anyway because he's a passionate guy, and that makes the community rally around him with passion in like his moment of need. So I get choked up just talking about it. So now this one's a really weird one, but it's one of my like absolute all-time favorite movies.
Lay it on me.
Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. Yeah, so there you go. That's like
that is passion personified.
Yes, Khan has the passion of Captain Ahab hunting his white whale to go find and kill Kirk. Kirk is losing his passion because he's stuck behind a desk and he really wants to be out there hopping galaxies, as McCoy says. And like I said, for me, it's a movie that just I'm really passionate about. I love this movie.
A lot of people are passionate about, and I think it is by far the best in the whole Star Trek franchise.
It's a hot-blooded, swashbuckling space adventure, and you don't have to be a Star Trek fan.
No, not at all.
To love this movie. It's just such a great film. The next one, I thought I should choose like a romantic film of some kind. So this one might be a little more obscure, but it's based on a book, and it's called Snow Falling on Cedars. And just a very beautiful, sad meditation about muted passion, really. So Ethan Hawke plays this character Ishmael, who is a newspaper man in a town, and he was in love with this Japanese woman when they were kids, but she was put into an internment camp around the time of the war, where she met and married her husband. Now, her husband is accused of killing someone, and so Ishmael's sort of covering this trial, and he has some information that, like, could affect the trial, and so he kind of needs to decide within himself: do I do the right thing, or do I do the wrong thing? But perhaps, like, you know, and watch, you know, be able to destroy this marriage that I so don't want. So it's just a beautiful, beautiful and sad movie. And like I said, that one's more about muted passions.
Okay.
And so the last one is called Helvetica. And it's
oh yeah.
Yeah. And so it's like, it's not necessarily, I mean, I work in design and stuff like that, so it's obviously something of interest to me. But Helvetica, for anybody that doesn't know, is a font that is used on a lot of different graphic design and advertising stuff. And in the movie, they sort of get two sides of the coin. Some people hate Helvetica. They see it as just the end of originality and all this, but some people love Helvetica because it really is a font that communicates well and reads well, you know, in that kind of advertising and stuff. So
I like that they talk about how it's kind of a passionless font too. Like, it can be anything. It's just like tofu. You absorbs the flavor of whatever it is that you want to build on. So.
And so it's interesting to see like that attached to like just how passionate some of these people are, whether they're for or against the font, and just like in the creative arts, like you know, how passionate someone can be just about the tiny nuts and bolts. And you know, I mean, everyone's passionate about hating Comic Sans, but you know, Helvetica is just a great movie from 2007.
Awesome. Well, I think the passion is the difference between nerddom and geekdom, right? That whole like specificity. Okay. Well, those are some really great and very different. And how did they get on a list together? Kind of.
There are some
collection
very
of movies.
passionate movies, Jodie.
Very passionate. Well, thank you, Craig. We are now going to share our passions with you as a crew, and tell you a little bit about what each one of us is passionate about. Okay, so we're talking about passion this episode, and I want to know some things that we're passionate about that maybe our viewers don't know. So you, Tony, are going to kick us off something you're passionate about.
So everyone knows I'm passionate about Star Wars, and it's a really big thing, but I'm going to narrow it down to one
Star Wars?
part. Yeah, I know, hey, weird. One part of Star Wars is the vinyl cape Jawa. When I was 1978, I got the vinyl cape Jawa, and a dude who I didn't know very well, I won't say his name, came in and he stole my vinyl cape Jawa. It's been an obsession of mine to buy it, but every time I've come upon it, it's either way too much money or I just didn't feel comfortable. There was like a bad vibe with that Jawa. I needed the same Jawa. So I bought a Jawa recently, and now I have no passion.
Yeah, it's exhausted.
It's
You've
done.
fulfilled your
That's
destiny.
it. I got nothing now.
Remember those capes used to like rip?
Yeah, I know. I have to be very, very careful with it. Yeah.
That's why they're so damn rare.
Jodie made me a cape, but I couldn't even like change the cape because I was scared I was going to rip it. So.
It's leather, though.
The leather cape was
That's
awesome.
even better.
Yeah, the leather one was awesome.
Very passionate about the leather work.
Leather.
Yeah. Okay, Hank, what are you passionate about?
Math. I'm just 1978 plus. How old were you then? I'm trying to figure these things out here. I don't know if we can be friends anymore. I'm passionate about artwork, specifically emerging artists trying to find work that maybe from their very first show, so I can be the first one to support them. In the house now, I've got we probably own closer to 400 pieces of art, I think.
Whoa.
But I've got closets full, and I've got art bars in every room, so every 2 weeks I rotate art through the house. So anytime somebody comes in, it's like, wow, your house is all brand new and all great, but it's really, I'm just rotating the art. So I have a lot of art.
Art heist? Yeah. Art heist at his
Oh,
place?
man, no
okay,
doubt.
We get
so,
ski masks and everything.
You're your own curator. That's
I am,
awesome.
right? I have my own gallery at home.
That's really cool. Well, my passion is sort of similar. I like to draw buildings. I love the history of our city, and I'm really interested in the stories behind our heritage and stuff. So I really like drawing all the old architecture, and that's kind of one thing that I've been into like for about a decade or so, and I love it. I don't know why, but I do love it. So yeah, I'll have to give you something to hang on your wall.
Would we be able to find some of those artistic creations on like buttons somewhere?
Yes, that's my newest thing. Is I'm obsessed with buttons, so I've been making the buildings on buttons. I know buttons.
Like
I think
Lydia's is on there.
You share your passion like with the people of Saskatoon about some of these heritage buildings and stuff too. So I think that's cool. Like they discover a passion for it.
I hope so. I hope people learn a little something along the way too. So What are you passionate about, Craig?
I am most passionate about Tony. I think like I was thinking about this, and there's a lot of things I'm passionate about, like all of us, movies and stuff, obviously. But I think it all goes back to me to writing, and maybe even the idea of criticism and stuff, but just specifically writing, and that could be anything from writing like short stories or screenplays to writing about movies or about literature or anything like that. So just to me, that's like sort of the base. Like that's where everything else branches out from is my love of writing and reading other people's writing and writing myself, and you can just get lost for hours and you think 10 minutes has passed and you've been working for 6 hours. So
who's your favorite writer right now?
My favorite writer right now, that's hard to say because there's a lot of different mediums and stuff. I am reading a lot of classic science fiction right now, so Stanislaw Lem,
deep
Solaris.
to mine there.
Yeah, for sure.
That's awesome. Okay, well, that's awesome. I'm glad that you guys shared your passions. We want to hear about what your passions are, and you can share them with us on our Facebook page or in tweets. Of course, we want PG passions, please.
Yes.
We don't need to hear any seamy details of other things going on.
I didn't know this. This is kind of interesting because I didn't know about these passions that the three of you had. That's kind of cool.
It's because you don't care about anything but yourself.
Jawa.
Tony's specialist himself in the Jawa.
I don't know much about these things.
It's like the blinders say Star Wars. They're like
Yes.
you're like going through the tunnel of the Death Star. It's like
Isn't that weird?
Else is periphery.
Isn't that weird how you like things just you become passionate, but it's almost like an obsession after a while. So you have to be careful. Yes.
Obsession, the big O. Yeah, absolutely. Well, we do have our obsessions, and we have lots of them, and I think that's what keeps things interesting. And hopefully, we will share many of them over the next many months on Punch TV, and you will tune in to hear about them as well. So, yeah, lay it on us. We want to know what you're passionate about, and share that on Twitter or on Facebook. Well, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Punch. That wraps it up for another month. A couple of things you might want to put on your radar. We've got the Button Club happening at Amazing Stories to raise money to publish Punch the magazine, and there's still a few slots left on that. It's $25 and you get a different button every month from a unique perspective of only local artists. Some big names on that. I know Tom Grummett's doing a button, and we've had him on the show before. There is also, of course, we talked about the workshop that's going to be happening in March, so you want to register for that early. And there's some really cool stuff happening at the public library. They just put out their leisure guide, and there's some really neat programs. Whether you're a gamer or into comics or just into literature or whatever, there's really cool stuff. So check out what's happening in your local community library, because there's lots of fun, nerdy stuff out there for everyone. Have an awesome month. We'll be right back at you in March. And in the meantime, keep your jukes up.
I'm gonna rock the house with rock and roll tonight. I'm gonna spin some DJ discs with DJ Action and DJ Action discs. I'm going to spin the albums.
Are you gonna say that maybe you might rock my socks?
I'm gonna rock those shoes. I'm gonna rock your shoes.
Gonna rock your socks right off.
Shoes off.
Show you something.